Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Angry Cast and Fallout Shelter 2022. How y'all doing? I'm recording this preemptively. Not that I want to jinx anything, but it's pretty apparent of what is going to be happening in the next few days. It's Thanksgiving, week of Thanksgiving. And I know last week we did the Thanksgiving quests, and I was kind of thinking, what am I going to do this week, other than just go through the motions of like I normally have, which is pretty much what I'm going to do. But of course, we always record. Sometimes, a little bit of a sidebar conversation about things, about life, about everything while we do some quests. I actually don't know what I'm going to be doing in the background, and I need to find enough time to fill what I'm going to be going through. And I'm only going through it because of the catharsis of it, I guess. But again, it's going to be heavy. It's going to be kind of hard. So let's take you back a little bit, about 18 years. Now, I had a townhouse that I lived in. I wasn't single, but I was kind of a bachelor. And there was a guy that lived next door to me that had a cat, and I could hear the cat sometimes at night making horrible sounds. Not sure if the cat was okay, if the cat was just making those sounds because it was in heat. Who knows? The guy was never around. He went out a lot. Either he was, on the road or whatever he did for business. I don't know. But I guess eventually that cat passed away, or he got rid of it. I don't know the particulars. I do know that out at the curb, and we shared like the same driveway space, kind of. Left and right, opposite floor plans of our townhouses. He put out at the garbage all of the cat tree, the cat toys, the cat everything, all the stuff that he had from the cat. He got rid of it. He apparently just, was the cat, either he didn't want anymore or something happened to it, and he was just cleaning up loose ends. Now, I'm not saying anything nefarious. I'm just saying that obviously that he was not going to get another cat in his mind. That was the fall of 2002. Let's fast forward to 2003 February. We had a huge snowfall in southwestern Pennsylvania right around President's Day weekend. But at least a foot and a half outside. And at the time, Bailey's mother was not living with me, but she was staying there over periods of time, and happened to notice that there was we had bunnies outside that we were feeding. Like, they were like little rabbits that kind of hung out in the back of my townhouse, like between the patio door and the fence line. And so we were trying to make them a little bit more hospitable. She put out some alfalfa, a little bit of just trying to give them a place to go. I'm sure they had a place to stay, but she was trying to do something nice. And then one night, I happened to notice that there was this black and white cat sitting outside, right outside the door. And I was kind of, shooing it away. First of all, I am allergic to cats. My eyes swell up when I touch my face after I pet a cat. So I wasn't exactly looking to get anywhere near this animal. And then I shoot it away. And then that night, Bailey's mom had come over, and the cat showed up again. And she's like, "Oh, we got to go get it." I'm like, "No, that's the cat that was trying to chase the rabbits. I was trying to get rid of it." She's like, "No, we got to bring him in." I'm like, "No, we're not. No." Because for one, the lease of my townhouse specified no animals. I guess there was like a $50 charge you could pay to have one. But for the most part, no cats, no dogs, no nothing. So she proceeds to traipse off into the snow to go retrieve this cat. And eventually he kind of like wanders up into to my kitchen area. And I said, "Well, Creighton, now what?" She's like, "Well, we name him." I'm like, "No, we're not going to name him. We're not going to keep this cat. End of story." I kept the cat, by the way. I took it to the vet, got it all fixed up. You know, it was emaciated and was, you know, had worms and all this other stuff. I mean, the first night was like, the poor thing probably had no food or drink in a while, and proceeded to just blow up the litter box that we had got. And so now I had a cat, and we named him Oscar. Oscar was the most chill cat in the world. He was just he was like part Maine Coon, part Dodge Dart. I mean, this thing was huge, but he was such a lovable thing. He was so chill, barely made a noise. He just didn't like dogs. And I had that cat for, 10 months before we ended up getting another one. Yeah, because of course when you have one, you have to have two. And that's when we got Emmy. And of course, if you've been a friend of the channel from the last, 10 years, you know who Emmy was and how Emmy was the greatest queen cat of the world. What we didn't know was that one day we happened to run into a lady who lived across the street from us, and she happened to say that, oh, that cat you have in your window looks a lot like your neighbor's cat. I'm like, what? So apparently, the story goes, the guy next door, his family got him another cat. Much to his dismay, I guess. But the cat ended up getting outside, and then I got him, and I kept him. I don't know. The guy never came and asked, and he never once heard of anything about this cat not belonging to anybody else. We just happened to keep it. Oh well, mine now. And I became quite attached to Oscar. He was, like I said, he was a chill cat. He was awesome. Loved him to death. And then, of course, like I said, Amy came along, and then we moved. We bought a house and got married and had Bailey. But before that, we happened to rescue two more animals. Willow and Lucy were twins from a litter. They were tabbies that were at the farmer's market, dropped off by the mother. The mother was dropped off and had the kittens, and we managed to adopt them. Now, I've got 4 cats. Now, the reason we had 4 cats is because we did not want 5. Again, I'm allergic to cats. I was kind of told we weren't keeping these cats, that we were going to put them up for adoption. Took them to the vet, got their shots, everything. And now it's like, well, I'm out $300 and we're just going to give these cats away? And then nobody's going to pay for them, so I ended up keeping them. So now I've got 4 cats living in a 3-bedroom house, and I'm deathly allergic to cats. About 2013. This is about the time where things started to fall apart in our relationship. And eventually, it was going to be apparent that we weren't going to be living together anymore. I was keeping the cats, of course. But at the time, Oscar was going through a rough patch. He had a tumor somewhere inside of him that was sort of pressing on his stomach and his his gastro, basically his GI. He unfortunately started to lose a lot of weight, and then he began having issues with going in the litter box. He would struggle, he would grunt, he would just, strain, and then he would throw up. The tumor was inoperable because of the location of it. But he was still okay otherwise, still eating and everything else. So I didn't see a need to change course on anything. Unfortunately, the summer of 2014, that all became a different story. I was doing a show. It was how I met Megan, actually. She came to see me in the show. And Bailey and her mom were still living with us, but me, I should say, and the cats. But pretty much on the weekends, she was, going out to, hang out with someone else. And I was left home holding the bag. Again, these were all prearranged, and everything was, there's nothing weird, nefarious here. No underscore of anything. This was the arrangement we had come up with. They decided to go on vacation while I was working on this show. And it was kind of rough taking care of Oscar and doing the show, for the simple reason that he required a little extra care because he couldn't really do a lot of his own feeding and whatnot. So I happened to be at the worst possible point of my life, taking care of a sick cat and just running myself ragged for a few weeks. And he got to the point where he wouldn't even eat or drink, and I had to force feed him pretty much to keep him alive. And then one night he made the decision for me, and he passed away. Probably had a heart attack at that point. It was rough. It was very hard. I mean, Bailey wanted me to keep him alive till she got home from vacation. I said, it's not up to us, honey. It's you know, I can only do what I can do. And I felt horrible that I couldn't keep that promise. That was 2014. In 2016, actually 2015, I began to notice a bump on Emmy's back hindquarters. And that turned out to be a tumor from an injection site. Spindle cell cancer is like where they would get vaccinations, and it's like 1 in 10,000 chance. Of course, that's the one time I get lucky with anything, with those kind of odds. I couldn't afford to get to have the surgery and do all the things for Emmy. I just had to play it out. And eventually she started to have a larger spot on the outside of her hip area. And eventually it opened up. And I would pack it twice a day. I would treat it with antibiotics and steroids. This went on for a couple of years. And then over the 2017, like Martin Luther King Day, unfortunately, she had taken a turn and I had to have her put to sleep. Bailey wasn't aware that this had happened until she came to see me, and Emmy wasn't there, and I had to have a long conversation. And then there, you know, if you've ever watched the early GTA videos, we've talked about that. That was beginning of 2017, the end of 2017, New Year's Eve, out of all things. Willow had a problem. Willow, who was like the one cat I really didn't trust out of the bunch. She'd just as soon as, you know, love you and then tear your face off. She developed lung cancer and eventually had a stroke and had to be put to sleep. Again, cancer. Don't know why that was, you know, a thing, but it seems to be happening, you know, a lot with animals in my house. So, you know, that took care of 3, and that left me with just the one, Lucy. Now, Lucy was pretty much the most problematic cat out of the bunch. She was the last one to be caught because she decided she was going to play hard to get when we were trying to retrieve them at that farm. Also, she had a thing about the litter box where she would continue to go on the floor if she didn't like the way the litter box was. We thought that she was, you know, we actually blamed it on Oscar because a boy peeing, marking, that sounded like typical cat behavior until we caught her doing it. She's the reason why I had to pull up the carpet in the basement. And she has been, you know, that's not the only thing problematic that she had been. In 2018 or 2019, we were sitting here one night, and all of a sudden I see her start running up and down the hall, tearing ass, like I thought she had something stuck to her. Sometimes they go to the bathroom, they get something stuck to them, it pulls their hair, and they freak out. She then ended up in the kitchen where she spun around, and, you know, like just in a circle, and then fell on the ground, and then started to like seize, and she peed herself, and we figured out she was having seizures. So we put her on medication for the seizures, and everything had been fine until about late 2020, early 2021. Happened to notice that on her backside there was a little bump. We took her to the vet and found out that she had a tumor, perianal tumor, I guess. I wasn't taking any chances this time around, and I had a little bit of money that I could take care of her. So we had surgery, and doctor removed it. Everything seemed to be fine. At this point now, she's 16 years old. And everything seemed to be, actually 16 or 17 years old at that point, and everything seemed to be fine. Within 6 months, the tumor had grown back. And unfortunately, I couldn't afford to do surgery again. And I didn't think that it was a good idea to continually put her under for surgery at her age. So we decided to just play it as it lies, as we've done in the past. Eventually, the tumor burst open, and it has been causing, more and more problems ever since. Eventually, she started having issues in the litter box where she would just drop everything there, or like get far away and then drop it by accident. She didn't mean to do it. It happened. This past weekend, and the last 2 weeks, she started to have issues walking with her back legs. They seemed to be giving her some trouble. She couldn't jump up as high anymore, anything else. I was guessing that the tumor began to press on the nerves or the muscle in her legs that's causing her the issue. And I also believe that the tumor is pressing on her digestive tract, because she's starting to vomit when she, sometimes eats. And I'm also guessing that the tumor growth on her backside is getting to the point where it is obstructing her ability to have a movement in the litter box, because she hasn't gone. I mean, she's peed, but she hasn't done anything else. And I think that that's an indication that we are at a point where I have to make a decision. Out of everything else that's been going on, I thought that she would be the one that would outlive me. Now, we have another cat. That's, Meow. Meow wants only to love Lucy, but she won't have anything to do with him. And I think that it's time to address the issue with a vet. So we've scheduled an appointment for the day before Thanksgiving, which is technically would be 2 days before this video airs. I don't know what's going to happen at this moment, but I'm pretty sure that this is it. I'd always wanted her to go in her sleep and not suffer, and to not have to make a decision for her, because I think it's the worst thing in the world. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to stare at an animal who can't tell you otherwise that there's something wrong. They can, but they don't always. And make a decision to end their life, regardless of whether or not it's the right thing to do. It just feels like you're snuffing out something that could otherwise tell you, no, wait, I'm okay, or wait, you just need to do this, or some other indication that you don't have to make this decision. And I also hate the idea that I'm going to have a world where Lucy doesn't exist anymore. She's been part of my life for 18 years. I mean, it's like raising a child to the age of voting and to the college age. Imagine having a, and I know that it's not a child, but it's might as well be at this point. Imagine having a child go off to college and losing them. Imagine even still that it was an expected outcome. There's no preparation for it. There was no preparation for it when we had to do it with Haley, Megan's dog. We had somebody come to the house and take care of things, and we said and held her as she went. It doesn't make it any better. It just makes it a little bit less scary for the animal. I just don't really know what to do other than what I am doing. Lucy's been a real pain in the ass for a lot of those 18 years, but I love her all the same. She's the last one standing. She was the last one in, she's the last one out. The old brood. And it closes a chapter on a different part of my life that it was the last tie I had to that world. I mean, I'm selling the house that we had. No other animals exist from that life. she's the last one to go. Now, it's not that I'm not wanting to explore having a new life and live that life. I want that. I mean, this has been one of the greatest things that have ever happened to me with, the way my life is now. But it's sad to watch that go away, and it's everything all built up into one thing, not just losing an animal, but losing the rest of that piece that I have. And I know it's the right thing to do if it's time. I know it's not great for her to have to live in pain and discomfort like that. It just doesn't make it any easier. And I'm sure we've all had to go through something like this. And I'm sure it's different for everyone. But for me, I cling to those things. I cling to having those relationships because I value them and I value that existence. And not having that anymore upsets me. So I will miss Lucy. The coda on this is that Oscar was the first cat that I had. And Meow is going to be the last one probably because I am allergic and, it's time to not have to deal with that anymore. The thing about losing a cat like Lucy is that I used to say that we had 3 cats. We had Oscar, we had Emmy, we had Willow, and then we had Oscar's cat, Lucy. Because it was always like Oscar was the betrothed. Like Lucy loved and adored him and followed him around everywhere. When it would be time for dinner and Oscar had to be, rounded up, Lucy would go get him. Lucy would say, "Come on, let's go get it for our dinner." Because we wouldn't feed everybody until they were all there. And she laid with him and she snuggled with him and everything else. And he put up with it. And I think he at some level was okay with it. But, he was kind of like didn't want to be bothered. He was just like, "Get away from me. I don't want to be bothered." But she was his cat. And hopefully, if you believe in that sort of thing, she's going to go find him. And she's going to run. And she's going to be free of pain. And that's what I want for her. I want her to be safe and warm. She's always cold. Wants a lap. Sticks her head right up against the fireplace and tries to burn it off because she's so cold. And I think she's going to be running and she's going to be just playing and she's going to enjoy that time with him. And I will be happy then. Regardless of whether it's true, I'm going to believe it. So for everybody out there, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of the planet, take care of your pets. And we'll see you next time. Have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.